Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, and locked. Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. Thank you for being in class today. Jason, thank you for engineering the broadcast. And we're still awaiting the results of the presidential selection. Jason is awaiting the results from the Electoral College to see if something happened and he is put in position number 1. Jason Stanek, 2020.com. He's our engineer, and he put out his bid for the presidency of the United States. He would like small government. He would like take care of your friends, kind of libertarian leanings. Great platform. That's what we need. Small government, less government. Rich Scheben's with us today. No calls, please. Rich has a full blackboard, and he would like to go almost nonstop. We can't quite do that because we have commercials and news. Other than that, he would be nonstop at the front of the classroom. Welcome, Rich Scheben.
Well, thank you, Vince. And I do have a ton of material. There's news breaking almost every hour. And it's amazing when people send me stuff, because they know I'm on talk radio, the censorship, the purging, the shadow banning, the deplatforming, the algorithms, it's beyond explanation. See, if you do something that's legitimate and you legitimately win a contest, whether it be a game of chess, playing pool, playing a football game, or winning an election, if it was legitimate, folks, none of this would happen. I have to remind everybody that the GSA did not certify any election. The mainstream media is not official. They're owned by a few corporations, okay? They're bought and paid for. Think of when you hear the word official authority today, think oxymoron, because official authorities are an official bona fide joke today. So, Vince, you let me know when I could hit the start button, and I'm going to give as much information to our listeners as possible.
Yeah. I have one comment I'd like to share. And some of our class may not believe what you just said. They may not believe that we are being censored and we are being shut down. So let me share this with you, class. I sent an email to several instructors. And I sent it to Rich, Marty, I sent it to Bert, I sent it to Kathy, and I sent it to some others. And I also sent it to myself. So from my email address to those instructors, and also I included me. So I sent it back to myself. Do you know that I got an undeliverable message from CenturyLink telling me that it would not deliver my message to me? It could not deliver it. Undeliverable. So when Rich tells you that we are being censored, that is absolutely proof positive that I can't even send an email to myself from a CenturyLink account to a CenturyLink account. Actually, the same CenturyLink account. We absolutely positively are being censored. So I just wanted to share that with you. And let's hit the start button.
Okay, buddy. Thank you. All right, folks, the reason why I mention all these articles, all these points of discussion for weeks, for months now, is to give validity to the fact that the election has been stolen. It's 100% voter fraud. And it doesn't even matter about the censorship and surveillance and the shadow banning and the deplatforming and the computer algorithms and all the things that we talk about all the time. Basically, the Democrats, the cabal, the establishment, whatever name, the Illuminati, I don't care what name you decide to use, they don't even care about math, science, and the rule of law because they threaten, they bribe, they blackmail. It's all about propaganda, hoaxes, gaslighting, which is lying. That's how they out everything. That's how they control the agenda. Okay? We are seeing history in the making right now, folks, and it's not good. So I want to talk about, I'm going to talk more articles later in the show, and I'm going to be on Thursday because I have about 16 hours worth of data to tell people in 2 hours for each show. So I'm going to go as quickly as possible. I'm going to shortcut everything, and I'm going to try to keep my messages in context because I have so much information. This is why when I talk about articles like the Georgia recount is fake and rigged, okay, they don't care about matching signatures or dates. You got to look at the rejection rates as well. Okay, like in Michigan, how does a state have over 240,000 registered voters than people who are 18 years old and over? See, we have to look at the math. And later in the show, I'm also going to go through some articles that shows the hypocrisies, the double standards, the corruption, the dying commerce, the elite takeovers, and the true agendas of what's going on. Now, I'm sure most of this audience, if not all, knows who Sidney Powell is. Now, Sidney Powell has recently said even the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, should be fired. Do you remember when they said not too long ago that this is the most secure election in American history? I want you to keep that in the back of your mind, because what I'm going to tell you today is going to prove that Donald Trump has won the election. So, when you look at all these Dominion voting machines engineered by China, Venezuela, Cuba, they have been designed to steal votes from around the world. And most Dominion and Smartmatic, which has been proven to have George Soros family connections, those donations, the board of directors, the kickbacks, the lobbyists, the investors, 99% comes from the Democrat Party. So when you hear talk about software glitches, it's not a glitch. That's their code word for it's a designed back door to create results. So this software can even change other hardware. Now, when you look at this ImageCast technology voting machine, it has the physical ability to mark votes on the ballot after the last time the voter, which is you, sees the ballot. Switching votes undetected, inserting thumb drives. Some are internet connected. Some they change databases. They reverse databases. They change storage in the cloud for uploading. They change other machine results with this software. They flip votes. They delete votes. What we're seeing, folks, is fraud and deception in broad daylight. Now, these elections are done by private companies. That means security standards are hidden, if there are any at all. So what they're doing is it's designed to hide even forensic trails. What we are seeing today is a national security collapse. But they have now discovered the math algorithms. That's called evidence. Now, I've been reading a lot lately, and I'm sure this audience has too, about the Electoral College and the Constitution and the fail-safes that we have when we have all this illegal fraud and elections that should be null and void. And I'm going to get into that with detail. So when we have mostly Republican legislatures in 50 states and swing states, I'm going to make a long story short here, as I always have to because of time constraints. So a vote goes into Congress as per law. We have approximately 37 states that are Republican. It's one state, one vote, not adding up all the Democrats and Republicans in Congress. One state, one vote. So what we need to call on as people is the courts, the state legislatures, and Congress has to do their job, and we have to hold their feet for the fire. Because I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick and tired of hearing all these different words and professional wordsmithing and Hegelian dialectic and subliminal messaging and media propaganda coming out to describe different words for communism and propaganda. It's getting old. Now, on Friday, I came out on Vince's show, and very quickly, I talked about writing a letter to President Donald Trump. And the purpose of this, you can make it one line. What we need to do is request registered voters send him a letter to demand a full audit of all 50 states. Okay? And the address is President Donald J. Trump, White House, and maybe you should leave out Donald J. Trump because the post office is obviously involved in this coup, which we have proved. And this is very sad since we are paying their salaries, their benefit package, and giving a big fat pension at 10 to 20 times what the average private sector person gets. So White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., 20500. And this will give evidence to the Supreme Court to demand an audit for all 50 states. So right now, even our own president is being censored by all media, social media, big tech, electronic mail, everything. All these glitches, all these miscalculations, all these vote total switching, all these irregularities. Have you noticed? I mean, the Republicans can't even watch counting processes in some states. This is about as null and void an election as you can get. There is no verification for voters who requested mail-in ballots. No correlation of signatures. Everything is absolutely fake and phony and fixed and rigged. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect more dots. And there was a breaking story. I was prepared to deliver this story on Friday. Unfortunately, it wasn't my turn to go on the air. So I've been adding to it, and this is why I'm shortcutting, because I have more and more articles and proof and evidence and whistleblowers and math and improbable calculations for math and witnesses and videos and pictures. There is so much evidence, folks. Donald J. Trump probably won with over 400 electoral college votes. You only need 270. Donald Trump probably won with over 400. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Rich Scheben's with us. And class, Rich said something quite remarkable, and I'd like to put an exclamation point on it. He said software can change hardware. Now, on the surface, that sounds impossible, right? Well, I'm going to prove to you that it's true. We've talked about this over the years, that there are backdoors in the operating system, Windows, for example, that will allow someone remotely across the internet somewhere to access your PC's operating system and will allow the reversal of the microphone and camera in your computer. So if you say turn the camera off and they reverse it, you've shut the microphone off and left the camera on. So what I'm telling you, it's absolutely positively true what Rich said. Software can change hardware. And regarding the letter, you can take an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, printer paper / copier paper. You can fold it into 3, like the size of a number 10 envelope, and you can write on that, On the outside, you can put your name if you want and your zip code. You can put on the inside, you can address it to White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C. 20500. And on the inside, you can write very simply, I demand a full audit of the vote of all 50 states. And sign it. Now, is that going to be a bad thing if you sign it? You're just demanding an audit of the vote. That's all. You're not sticking your neck out. You're just demanding what you should demand. And I suggest you sign it and date it. It's as simple as that. Rich, any comments?
Well, you're absolutely right. What do we have to lose? I mean, the system is absolutely rigged. The ballots, the voting machines, all these abnormalities, the so-called glitching and the redating and countless statistical improbabilities. The whole process is fake. The government is now totally illegitimate. And your freedoms, your liberties are in jeopardy. Do you remember Obama in 2012 passed a bill to allow propaganda against the American people that Congress passed? Oh, Russia did it, Russia did it, Russia did it. You see how they connect the dots to cover their butts with plausible deniability? You remember when I said a few years ago that the Government Accountability Office found $16 trillion of secret federal loans to any bank, foreign or domestic, that you were paying for, even ones that were going bankrupt? Those loans started in 2007 and went through 2010. Do you remember the 2008 collapse? Did you get bailed out? No. Folks, we have so many, you are a subject. You're not a citizen. You're not an American right now. They are making you subjects. The elites have bought and paid our politicians, lawyers, media, judges, law enforcement, including DOJ, FBI, and all other intelligence agencies. Everything's been delegitimized. Work, rule of law, any type of authority, truth, polls, voting, government, big corporations, everything is illegitimate. College degrees, SAT scores, opportunity. You have no protection, no rights, and restitution under the rule of law. There is no transparency. Everything that you thought America was has been destroyed, along with controlling your own destiny. So I'm going to get back to more information here, Vince. Now, up to 10% of, I always try to throw a disclaimer out there, up to 10% of purposeful information that even goes through the Republican end of news can be fake, at least part of it. A lot of it's meant to be deceiving. A lot of it's meant to throw us off our trail. It's meant to distract, dumb down, and divide the American people. And it's meant to demonize, discredit, and delegitimize us in the alternative media. Now, I'm going to be talking a lot about whistleblowers, especially after I give this monologue, which is going to take me a while. I'm hoping I can get to it. And I'm going to be on Thursday again to pick up where I left off. I have enough information here for 2 weeks, so I'm just going to get going. Whistleblowers inside Dominion voting systems have signed their sworn affidavits. They say software company Dominion changed 3.8 million votes. This is a few days old. I had this whole story ready for Friday, okay? I want to remind everybody what's happening behind the scenes. And I hear the music coming up, but I'm going to wet your whistle a little bit, and I'm going to talk about this in as much detail as I possibly can. President Trump signed an executive order.
Rich Scheben's with us, and he's been talking about lies. Just one more lie. Tesla, if you drive one in Australia, it will cost you more per mile to supercharge your Tesla electric vehicle than it will to use gasoline. Tesla's been saying just the opposite. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you, Vince. I appreciate it. Yeah, folks, it's hard to believe what to believe. Okay, because it's just like the other day. Remember when all this news came out about Durham dropping his investigations because he was worried about threats from Joe Biden and his people? Well, I've also read that's not true as well. And this is why we have to do our own reading and research, because the mainstream media, folks, they are just an arm of the elite. They represent the highest bidder. They're not about truth. They're all about propaganda, hoaxes, false flags, and lies, and includes gaslighting. So if you're believing the mainstream media, America, and to those around the world listening, you're being played. You're being used. You're being conned. You're being duped. So I'm going to rattle off a lot of information here. So here I go, and please pardon me for just talking, because I want to put this next message in context, and it's going to take me a long time to deliver this message. In 2018, President Trump did an executive order, and we have a national emergency, and it's about unauthorized access to elections. So this executive order, the president states that the people and the organizations located inside and outside the United States are known to be, and this is in quotes now, interfering in or undermining public confidence in the United States elections, including through the unauthorized accessing of election and campaign infrastructure or the covert distribution of propaganda and disinformation, unquote. So basically all news organizations, whether it be the New York Times, the Washington Post, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, CNN, it doesn't matter. What this executive order has done is that all these news organizations have been caught under this emergency declaration of foreign interference in U.S. elections, aided by the biggest corporations in America, from Fortune 500 up. Now, this is going to get better as I go along, so please bear with me. This executive order states that this foreign interference in U.S. elections constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to national security and foreign policy in the United States. So Dominion Voting Systems is a Canadian company. See, national security, foreign policy. Dominion is a foreign-owned company, which makes Dominion-based election theft a foreign interference issue. So bear with me. We're going to connect dots all day here. So there's a voting machine company called Skittle, which is widely used in U.S. elections. It's located in Spain. And days after it was revealed how 2020 U.S. elections was rigged by this Canadian Dominion voting system through a so-called glitch, remember we've talked about these glitches many times, the votes cast by Americans were counted by a bankrupted Spanish company, which is Skittle out of Spain. So like Dominion Voting Systems, Skittle has a long history of election fraud in various nations, including injecting backdoors in election software. This is why I talked about backdoors a moment ago. The chairman of the U.S. Federal Election Committee believes that the 2020 U.S. presidential elections is illegitimate. Trump's 2018 executive order gives the DOJ the power to seize all assets of individuals and companies that were complicit in aiding or covering up this foreign interference in U.S. elections. So this national emergency order specifically calls for seizure. This is where it starts getting real good, America. Calls for seizure of all assets and entities that have directly or indirectly engaged in foreign interference in the United States elections. So all the news outfits, the ABCs, the CBSs, the Fox, the CNN, the MSNBC, every fake news anchor, every big tech CEO. And by the way, I think Zuckerberg and what's his face from Twitter is talking to the Senate today. There's a possibility they could be arrested when they go to talk to the Senate today. And I'm going to talk in more detail about this. So all these fake news people, the Washington Post, the New York Times, basically they're complicit in gaslighting, which is a subset of lying. Gaslighting is a subset of lying. I've talked about this many, many, many times. So when you gaslight your own country and you cover up for the massive foreign and election interference, you're going to have more of the propaganda, more of the hoaxes, more of the labels. This is why the mainstream media and the big corporations are calling Joe Biden president-elect. He has not been certified by anybody that's legit. So this executive order also includes every person who has been corrupted or compromised by communist China. That includes 80% of the Democrat lawmakers, politicians, the Feinsteins, the Pelosi's, the Schiffs. Is it starting to get good here, folks? I hope you got a smile on your face. Now, what does foreign interference mean? And there's a definition in this executive order. Any covert, fraudulent, deceptive, or unlawful action or attempted actions of a foreign government or any person acting as an agent of or on behalf of a foreign government undertaken with the purpose of effect of influencing, undermining confidence in, or altering the result or reported result of an election, or undermining public confidence in the election processes or institution. So note these words, altering the result of reported result of the election. This is exactly what the powers that be behind big tech and the fake news media has done to America. This isn't just a crime. It's sedition. It's treason. It's espionage. It's coercion. It's racketeering. It's blackmailing. It's bribing. And it's fallen right into this national emergency trap that Donald Trump publicly announced in 2018, which now means that all these corporations and organizations can have their assets seized now. I told you it was going to get better, and it's even going to get better as I go along. So did you remember when Sidney Powell, last week on a few interviews, she described staggering, and this is in quotes, staggering statistical evidence and staggering witness testimony about the criminal election fraud that was carried out in America? And she also added that if you want to talk about foreign election interference, we certainly have it now, unquote. Now, this is why I've been giving all these hundreds, maybe even thousands of examples over the weeks of election and voter fraud. I'm going to do more today. This is all part of the bricks and mortar to put this case and evidence together. Now, last week, those of you might have seen Louis Gohmert, who is a congressman from Texas. He said that the U.S., you're going to love this one, folks, the U.S. military has just raided a server farm in Skittle, Spain. Of Skittle in Spain. Now, the Gateway Pundit, which is a very credible, newsworthy source, I'm going to read an excerpt from them. The U.S. government, once they determined that this Dominion server was involved in switching votes, then the intelligence community began a search for the server and discovered that the server was in Germany. In order to get access to that server and have it available for the use in a legal manner, they had to have the State Department work in tandem with the Department of Justice. They had to request that the government of Germany cooperate in allowing the seizure of this server. The appropriate documents required to effect that kind of seizure was put in place, signed off on, and it appears that there was also U.S. military support in this operation. This could explain why Esper was fired, so that the military would not interfere with the operation in any way. By getting a hold of the server, they now are going to have the direct evidence of when people were instructed to stop counting. They also will discover who gave the direction to stop counting and who initiated the algorithm that started switching votes. So they don't just have the what, They're going to have the when, and they're going to have all the who's. Now, it gets even better. Actually, better/scarier. The raid appears to have targeted CIA's Frankfurt server farm operation. Remember I said Germany. Now, there is a confirmation from WikiLeaks documents that the CIA, our CIA, the government workers who we pay their salaries, their huge benefit package, and their pensions. Keep that in mind. So these documents from WikiLeaks that the CIA used a data center in Frankfurt as a remote hacking base to rig U.S. elections. Everything's to the highest bidder, folks. It appears that the CIA was using the same foreign data center to hack the U.S. elections and got caught, and got caught, and got caught. Am I clear? This is precisely why the CIA was kept out of the server raid operation that just took place in Germany. The raid was against the CIA's own server farm that ran the remote Dominion hacking operation the night of the election. You can't make this stuff up. So U.S. taxpayers, you are paying for rogue government workers. Congratulations. Now, so what's the bottom line here? What's going to happen? Okay, so big tech, the Democrats, most of the deep state, anybody in the mainstream media, intelligence agencies, official authorities, they are going to be arrested. This is why you're hearing all this stuff, all this weird stuff from the, Rob Reiner just said the other day, Republican Party is out of its collective effing mind. Why do you think the mainstream media isn't showing all the violence by Democrats and Antifa? This is all part of the propaganda and hoaxes. They do not want you to know anything. So, we have Democrat massive vote fraud operation. It was covert. It was fraud. It was deception. And it was unlawful. And it was carried out on behalf of all communist nations like China, the globalists that are located outside of the United States and in. After this break, we're going to tell you where things are going to go.
Rich Scheben's with us. Absolutely riveting class about the stolen election. Class, you may want to go to GCNlive.com and go to the archives and send links to friends and family. You can also go to the Ron Gibson channel on YouTube. And under there, you'll find USA Prepares, and you might want to send a link from there as well. Rich, please continue.
Well, thank you, Vince. I have so much more stuff. It's unbelievable. And I know a lot of listeners are probably at the edge of their seats thinking, this can't be so. But, I'm spending like 15 hours a day connecting a lot of dots, coming up with as much evidence as I possibly can. So what's going to be the bottom line here, folks? I'm going to just keep moving on, eliminate the small talk because we don't have time. Okay, all this deception, all this fraud, all this censorship, all the lies, what's going to be the bottom line here? Okay? What should happen is that the arrests and the seizing of all assets of top Democrats and deep state traitors who stole this election in 2020. And this was done in 2018, by the way. No surprise, right? So all big tech corporations and left-wing media propaganda outlets were complicit in this conspiracy. All their property and assets, their domain names, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and YouTube is Google, by the way, needs to be seized. The DNC, Democratic National Committee, should be gone because there's so much overwhelming evidence of widespread election fraud, which will also result in nationwide calls for voter ID systems for every election in the future. And obviously President Trump will win. Now, because of all this information on this technology, on the software and the hardware and everything that we just talked about, all these recounts don't matter. It's just like what they've done in Georgia, like I mentioned earlier in the show. The recounts is fake. It's rigged. They're not matching signatures. They're not matching dates. Rejection rates are the lowest they've ever been. It's all a fraud. So basically, the certification of votes is now irrelevant because that is not legitimate. So what President Trump needs to do is declare this whole election null and void because of failed foreign and domestic coup attempts against the United States of America and its people. And this has been aided by treasonous politicians, mainstream media, big corporations, inside mostly the Democrat Party, which includes the intelligence community, the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, even the DHS. That's why I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation here. Remember how Sidney Powell said the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, should be fired? Remember they said it's the most secure election in history? America, we are literally paying high salaries, high benefit packages, and high pensions to these government workers who have literally thrown American people under the bus. Now, a lot of you people who, when I've mentioned all this coming from the CIA, the FBI, the DOJ, the DHS, and all these institutions, I know what people are saying. They're probably saying, well, we have so many corrupt lawyers and judges in our country. Well, the big question is, are the people going to have to set up their own common law courts now and in the future, including juries? Because everything is fake and phony. And this is why I'm going to mention more and more and more evidence. And I'm going to start right now because we have lack of time. Now, there's some evidence coming out of the servers seized by the military in Germany. Remember I mentioned that. Are you ready? Are you sitting down, America? Trump should have 410 electoral votes, and Biden will only have 128. And I would love to repeat myself, but I have too much. You remember in Georgia, the burst pipe? There was the only evidence of a burst pipe, folks, was in a text message. It was highly exaggerated. It was a slow leak that caused about an hour and a half of delay, and they contained it quickly. It did not spread. This was all done to stop vote counts in all these swing states, to throw in all these votes using the technology that we just discussed just now. And how come donations coming from employees of Dominion Voting Systems, 96% of the contributions are directed to Democrat candidates? Folks, we need to connect the dots. Kerry's wife, Teresa Hines, told a group of Democrat donors in 2005, two brothers own 80% of the voting machines used in the U.S. It's very easy to hack into other mother machines, she said, unquote. We'll be right back after this break, folks. We really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, Rich Scheben's been talking about the big steal, the theft, the biggest theft in American history, the theft of the presidency. And they're trying to place it in the hands of a stumblebum. Yeah. A guy who doesn't know what he's doing, can't remember his lines. A plagiarist. Rich Scheben's with us, and he's been talking about the biggest theft in the history of America. And Rich, it seems like another executive order is needed by the President of the United States. One, removing corporate umbrella protection for officers in the board of directors when fraud is involved. Please continue.
Well, thank you. I'm going to continue with more and more evidence because I have so much. And folks, this is why you hear things like Fauci. He just said recently, a few days ago, Americans must do what they're told. Now, you know who else said this? Stalin, Hitler, Lenin, Mao, Castro. This is what's going on, folks. Now, everything I get is published articles in the public domain, and I try to get information before it's purged and before it's edited. And this is why so much information that's coming to me is either purged, edited, or worse. So we need to look at bottom lines. We need to look at why is Michigan calling for a full audit? And we all know that they have a Nazi in charge as governor. Why is the Milwaukee election chief arrested for illegally running 169,000 votes without any observers? Why are they kicking Republican vote counters and observers out of the room? Why are they putting up barriers so you can't even see in a window? How come early absentee voters who filled out out-of-state moving notices suggest that they have cast illegal ballots due to no longer meeting residency requirements, and they're trying to hide it? And minimum numbers are Pennsylvania, 7,500, Georgia, 18,000, Nevada, over 5,000, Michigan, over almost 1,700, Wisconsin, almost 6,300, Arizona, over 5,000. See, this is why when you see the mainstream media and big corporations and social media literally blocking, shadow banning, editing, and purging information, that's not confidence that they want. They want to distract, dumb down, and divide the people. They want to divert attention, which is, I guess, a subset under distractions. Now, I don't know if you know that 700,000 ballots were not allowed to be viewed in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. Now, according to the rule of law, that means Donald Trump won Pennsylvania. Did you know that in Philadelphia, Dominion contracts has been redacted? What redacted means is that they put black magic marker or something through the lines so they can't be read properly. That's called hiding information. Why is it in Oregon that you can buy heroin, meth, and cocaine legally, but you can't go to the gym or visit your grandmother in a nursing home? Is any of this curious? Shouldn't these things be investigated? So I'm going to continue with more. And I've probably, just for this show alone, eliminated close to 100 articles because of the amount of time. And Vince, I really apologize, me taking so much airtime. I just think that the evidence of voter and election fraud is so obvious that this is today, this point in history will be the biggest fraud scam delivered to the American people. And it's all connected. The COVID, the whole war, the voting, the illegitimacy of government, everything. See, this is what happens, and this is why I've talked so many times, folks, about divide and conquer strategies, which gives free lunch to the elite. This is why I talk about how important it is not to stick up for your hyphen, your pronoun, your group. We have to be Americans, because when we feel entitled to play the victim group status card, connect these dots for yourself. When you demand to lower the bars of standards and expectations for a job, that means you can't control your own destiny, because hard work, proven results, qualifications, merit, nothing matters anymore. All you're doing is doubting your own value. And then when you demand no protection of rights or restitution under the rule of law for the people who are affected and targeted, you're giving runaway power, no checks and balances, and you're eliminating the rule of law with precedence. With precedence. And guess what? And then you protect the most corrupt companies and big corporations and the most corrupt portion of government with liability immunity. And that creates more wealth inequality. And Vince will agree, I have spent countless hours and given thousands of examples that it's not about equality, fairness, tolerance, diversity, and all these BS politically correct words. Because one thing that I concentrated on doing was to prove welfare for the rich. I have proven many times about the corruptions. I have proven many times about fractional reserve lending, stock buybacks, money out of thin air. The money is being redistributed from the bottom 93% to the top 1 to 2%. And I can put an exclamation point on it because I've proven that gazillions of times. So I'm going to go back to more evidence since we're running out of time here. Dominion executive is a veteran. His name is Eric Coomer. Is a veteran of Antifa Street Fighter. You cannot make this stuff up. Dominion Systems security chief posted Antifa manifesto online. You cannot make this stuff up. Again, these are all published articles in the public domain. Next article. Trump law firm drops Pennsylvania bombshell. Okay, why did the Trump law firm drop Pennsylvania? It's because the lawyers were being threatened, and I heard there was some bribes in there, and I heard the family members were being threatened. See, when you are convinced that you have won something, a game, a contest, it doesn't matter what it is, chess, pool, football, an election, when you have to resort to this, to violence, to threats, to blackmail, that's not winning. That's not winning at all. That's coercion. Everything is illegal. Next article. Georgia County that used Dominion voting systems finds over 2,500 votes after hand count reposting. Now, again, the recount is still fraud, but they're still finding thousands of votes. Because the recount is designed to make sure Trump still loses, even though Republicans in the Senate and in Congress is winning now because of some of these hand counts. But it's designed to keep President Trump out. Next article. 28 states and election results to a remote server in Frankfurt, Germany, run by Skittle. That's why we said all this earlier in the show. Next article. Based on reports by auditors, IT specialists, data analysis, and statisticians, the number of illegitimate votes identified in 4 swing states are enough to overturn election. See, the Democrats say, give me evidence, give me evidence. What the heck do you think we've been doing on this show for weeks and weeks and weeks? That's what we're doing. We're giving evidence. Next article. Arizona rep points out that the number of potential non-citizen voters is higher than Biden's lead in the state. I want you to think about what I just said here. See, it's gotten to the point where truth is being trumped by propaganda and hoaxes. This is why we all need to read and research. Next article. Georgia recounts finds over 2,600 uncounted ballots just in Floyd County alone. Next article. Pennsylvania Secretary of State won't order a recount. Why are they not ordering a recount? Okay, because it's truly incredible. This is why we need all this. We need forensic activity to find out and everything needs to be audited. I'm all for revoting again with voter ID cards because this is the biggest scam in American history. There will not be a bigger scam than this. And the people at the DOJ, the CIA, all these people who have thrown Americans under the bus, Benedict Arnold will be looked like a hero compared to you folks. A hero. This is why William Barr better step up or resign. Next article. No, this is Trump. Georgia recount auditor claims multiple Trump ballots fraudulently called for Biden. Imagine my shock. Next article. Georgia had 95,800 fraudulent Biden-only votes. People, are you shaking your head like I am? I'm having a hard time reading because I'm shaking my head. This is unbelievable. The fraud. The whistleblowers. The affidavits. The witnesses. the videos, the pictures, the math. I can't even believe, in fact, I think, and I'm going to paraphrase, I read this morning that Sidney Powell asked Joe Biden to quit, to resign, to back off, or else he will be arrested. So we'll see where this goes. If what I said earlier about the executive order is true, which I read pieces of it here and there all over the place, I think we're going to have a massive takedown because of all this fraud. Even a lawyer in Pennsylvania said, I see fraud all over Pennsylvania. Next article. Georgia Election Observer identifies huge software counting glitch. Next article. Another U.S. Postal Service whistleblower in Pennsylvania comes forward. Listen to this. This is a quote. The only political mail that will be delivered from now on will be that of the winner, in this case, Joe Biden. Unquote. Our own Postal Service has gone Nazi, authoritarian, totalitarian, tyrannical against we, the people. Yes, we, the people who pay for their huge salaries, huge benefit packages, and huge retirement. Next article. In Maricopa County, Arizona, voters did not prove citizenship, over 14,000 of them. You can't make this stuff up, folks. This is all surreal. If we were all writers on the Twilight Zone, we could not come up with articles and themes like this. We really appreciate you being here, folks. Please pass all this on. We'll be back after this break.
Rich Scheben's with us. Rich, this is absolutely riveting class. Please share this with friends and family. You can go to GCNlive.com, GCNlive.com, and go to the archives. You'll find it. You can download it, and you can send it to them. You can send them the links. You can go to YouTube. You can send them a link to the Ron Gibson channel, Gibson, and you'll find us at USA Prepares. And you can send the links from there as well. Ron Gibson, thank you so much. GCN, thank you. Rich, please continue.
Well, thank you, Vince. Again, I always appreciate you allowing me to exercise my First Amendment right that was given to us by many combat soldiers, including the over 1 million of them who died to give us our freedoms and liberties. Now, one thing I can't promise, folks, is that it won't be purged or edited by the time you get to it, because this is what is happening in America. So I'm going to take a little detour, and I'm going to talk about the consequences, the hypocrisies, the double standards, the corruptions, the dying commerce, the elite takeovers, the true agendas of what's happening because of this. And then I'm going to go back to more evidence. So I'm going to do that for a little variety, because I bet a lot of you folks are probably thinking this can't be real. And this is why we always say, don't listen to us. You need to read and research and verify. Okay. Obama just said the other day that Trump claims of widespread falls is delegitimizing democracy. I know what you're all thinking. He's saying that we need to go back to our democratic norms. This is coming from a president, a former president, who spied on a sitting president before, during, and after he was in office. You cannot make this stuff up, folks. See, this is what happens when we demand to lower the bars of standards and expectations for jobs. This is what happens when we don't offer protection, rights, and restitution under the rule of law for people who are targeted. This is what happens when we give liability immunity and protect the worst of the worst of the worst regarding corporations and big government. This is what happens. We're enforcing fraud. We're enforcing illegitimacy. We're enforcing fascism, and especially wealth inequality. In other words, we've given free lunch to the elite without any accountability. Okay, next article. Lockdowns for thee, but not for me, regarding Newsom and Pelosi attending dinner parties. And they were going to have all these parties for Thanksgiving and the holidays, and they got caught. And they said, excuse me, we're not going to do it. See, they did just like Nancy Pelosi going to get her hair done. She didn't even have a mask. It doesn't matter. It's different set of rules, laws, and accountability based on two groups. It boils down to two groups: victim group status and protectionist group status. And some of you don't like to hear it, but it's the truth. And you got to man up, you got to woman up, and hopefully you have to American up, because that's exactly what's been happening for 50 years in this country. Next article. Antifa thugs and BLM attack Trump supporters, including children, including old people, including women. But see, this is why they don't want this information to get out. This is why the mainstream media doesn't cover it. This is why the mainstream media is null and void and should be arrested as per the EO that we discussed earlier in this show. Next article. Washington governor announces sweeping restrictions on bars and restaurants and gatherings. This is what happens when we basically look the other way for political correctness. This is what happens. You have the manufactured perception of a non-reality, because people care about telling you how self-important they are, especially in government, big corporations, and manufacturing their self-preservation. This is what happens when we go for decades and decades and decades of basically looking the other way towards political correctness. It gets to the point where nothing matters, and we're reaping the consequences of that right now. Next article. DOJ finds no misconduct in prosecutor's decision to scrap its investigation into Epstein's child sex trafficking. Looks like adult mutual consensual sex is now off the table. We'll be right back.
Rich Scheben is with us, and he's talking about the stolen selection/election, the biggest theft in American history, and how the elite have manipulated the system, and how we are all the victims. Rich, please continue.
Thank you. What I'm doing right now, folks, I took a little tangent. I'm talking about the consequences of all the inaction of decades towards political correctness, and how our judges and lawyers have been bought and blackmailed, and our institutions and people in power. And, you know, these hypocrisies and double standards and corruption and dying commerce and elite takeovers and true agendas need to be dovetailed with all the election fraud that we talk about. So I'm going to continue. Next article. Leftist calls for legalization of child pornography. See, this is a great example of how lawyers and judges have been bought and paid for. This is a great example of how child protective services are irrelevant. This is a great example how we're reaping the consequences of inaction for decades towards political correctness. See, we need all these things need to come out. It needs to come out in the forefront. We all need to discuss it, because they don't want us to discuss anything. They don't want us to have eye contact. They don't want us to talk about each other. They want us to get rid of individualism so they can complete this communist insurrection, and it's going to be nefarious all the way down to the bone. Next article. Guess who is providing the muscle for Dominion counting machines in Detroit? And that was Zuckerberg. Next article. UN announces planetary lockdown concentration camps for dissenters. Now, they've already admitted this in Canada. You better wake up, people. You better stop being the silent majority. Everybody needs to read, research, verify, and speak up, or else it's all over. Next article. The CDC admits COVID lockdowns sparked surge in children's mental health. You can't make this stuff up, folks. It's not just children's mental health. It's adult mental health. It's domestic violence. It's suicides. It's drugs, not just street drugs, but the antidepressant drugs, the antipsychotic drugs that the pharmaceutical companies are making a fortune on. It's obesity, which kills 40,000 people a month. There's a very long list, and we've discussed it all on this show over time. Next article. CDC admits we counted 51,000 heart attacks as COVID deaths. Not just heart attacks. Anything to do with respiratory ailments, motorcycle accidents, car accidents, gunshot wounds. I mean, the flu, if you look at the flu, it's almost non-existent. Everything is going into the COVID column. Next article. Biden COVID task force. You're going to love this. Biden COVID task force member says no food or rent subsidies for blacks and minorities who refuse to get vaccinated. I don't think any comment is necessary. Next article. Zuckerberg and Dorsey return to Capitol Hill for post-election rematch with Senate Judiciary. I mentioned that earlier. And I believe it's a virtual reality meeting because they probably are afraid to get arrested. If that EO that I discussed earlier in the show and all that stuff is valid, and this is why the mainstream media is coming out with all these fake certifications. Oh yeah, Biden won this, Biden won that. Well, if they really did all this forensic audits, I think we would find that the Republicans outright won with a great majority Congress and the Senate as well as the presidency. Next article, 82,000 sexual abuse claims filed against the Boy Scouts. And this really hits home to me. See, this is what happens when we allow political correctness to take over. I was in the Boy Scouts for many years, and they basically taught me about nature. They taught me about building fires and camping and canoeing and fishing. And who knows, if it wasn't for the Boy Scouts, I might have been stuck in New York City still, and I wouldn't have been able to spend 35 years in Montana having my adventure dream and living off the land and doing all the things that I enjoy. We need to go back to the land. We need to relearn the lost 19th century skills and dovetail them with 21st century technology. Next article, Biden promises to increase refugees by 8 times over Trump. I got news for you, folks. The United Nations wants to bring 500 to 600 million people on U.S. soil. Do the math. That's more than double what we have now. Next article, hotels and malls are going out of business due to coronavirus restrictions. Duh. All small businesses is going out of business, and no one wants to go anywhere with this tracking and tracing and surveillance and censorship. And that's exactly, you can't even go to a hotel without delivering your credit card. I'm not saying no one's ever going to go to a hotel anymore. If you have to, or if you're on vacation, I think people are going to do it. But to do it for certain leisure and hospitality, I think they're a dead stick. Next article, Giuliani and Sidney Powell and Lynn Wood search banned by Twitter. Just like Vince and I were talking about this. The censorship, the surveillance, the purging, the editing, the shadow ban, this is all going on because they don't want the truth. See, if they were correct, if they won this with legitimacy, they wouldn't be doing that. Next article. CNN says we need to cancel Christmas. There you go, folks. Next article. I wish I had time to talk about each one of these articles. I don't. I have too much information. I apologize to the listeners. We can take 4 or 5 of these articles and discuss them for the whole show. Don't have the time. Next article. California Democrats wants to move to Georgia to vote, even though it's not legal. Next article. Confirmed Biden Cancer Initiative spent a ton of money on salaries, but nothing into the R&D of cancer. And all this rhetoric that Joe Biden was going to cure cancer, it's all BS. It's all to give phony salaries to their buddies and not do anything. It's just like Big Pharma. They don't care about curing disease. They care about managing symptoms for profit. Trust me. Next article. Now this is from Dr. Atlas, a Trump COVID advisor. This is a quote or a paraphrase from an American, from a patriot. And he says the only way, and this is regarding lockdowns and all this fake COVID stuff regarding all this, the secondary and tertiary information that which is for lockdowns, which is for eliminating the economy. He says the only way this stops is if the people rise up. What the heck do you think I'm doing here, folks? That's why I'm trying to give evidence. That's why I'm trying to give ideas and solutions. That's why I talk about living off grid and being self-sufficient, because that's all we have left. And pretty soon, we're not going to have a voice if we allow this to continue. Next article. I'm going back to the evidence again. The Michigan AG, Trump's voter fraud lawsuits are racist. No, I am not making this stuff up. I know it sounds surreal. I know it sounds like a lot of these articles I'm making up. I promise you, this is published in the public domain. This is proven and verified. I am not making this up. Next article. Ronald Klain, Biden's new chief of staff, raises eyebrows with 2014 tweet saying elections are rigged. Biden's own people are admitting the elections are rigged. We just got to dig to find where and when they said it. Next article. This is a Project Veritas, another U.S. Postal Service whistleblower in Philadelphia suburb, Elkins Park, details order to stop delivering pro-Trump mail. This is a U.S. Postal Service coup. That's how history is going to label this. Next article. Michelle Obama suggests the GOP should accept Biden victory claim. This ain't a game. See, this is why they're trying to fast-track everything with no legitimacy and no proper certifications. Next article. 100,000 Michigan all Biden ballots brought in to be counted at 4 a.m. on November 4th. Next article. You're going to love this. A Las Vegas columnist ran a test to see if county officials were legitimate, were honest, were following the rule of law. And the county officials accepted fake signatures on 8 different ballots. And this was done as a test. Excuse me. My voice is starting to go south here, but I'm going to keep going. We're running out of time. Project Veritas, Pennsylvania whistleblower, told to dump all non-Biden mailers after November 9th. They just keep coming in, folks. Next article. Dead people, felons voted illegally in Michigan. Next article. Military votes allegedly among votes improperly cast in Nevada. Next article. James O'Keefe exposes cash for votes in Texas. People, look at all the evidence. I mean, and the mainstream media and the left is still saying there's no evidence. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Our whole government should be shut down right now. All they care about is their own paycheck and their own self-importance and their own self-preservation. That's it. It's unbelievable. Everything has been politicized. It's unbelievable. I mean, the little people, the bottom 93%, have no chance. Have no chance. I think the left would rather see the bottom 93% all commit suicide so they can have everything for themselves. But they wouldn't have somebody to make their coffee and rake their leaves, would they? Next article. Burgess Owens. This is some good news here. Burgess Owens defeat Democrat in Utah coming to Congress. Burgess Owens, I've been rooting for you. I've been calling your name for weeks. Congratulations. I saw you playing as a safety for the Jets, and now I'm going to see you in Congress. Congratulations, buddy. Well deserved. And one quote that Burgess Owens says is that the black population, the black community, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not quoting, pardon me, the black community should sue the DNC. When I heard him say that, amongst other things, I knew he was a patriot. I knew he was well-read. I knew he was well-researched. I knew he was an American. Next article. Google sued for data cost after Android phones found transferring unapproved, undisclosed data. See, it doesn't matter what technology you have. You better stop saying you're offended. Stop snitching and tattletaling. Stop being a butt kisser and a yes man. and a pot stirrer and a gossiper and a virtual signal follower and a traitor. Because they're creating a database on all of us. And they're using us to poison us against each other. See how they're doing that? And it's being edited. Even if you didn't say it, that's what they're doing. It's corrupt to the bone. We'll be back right after this, folks. And I know what you're thinking. Consumer confidence? There's no reward for the loyal or the constitutionalist or the rule of law. We need to change that. We'll be right back.
Rich, we have a caller on the line, but we've mentioned that we were not taking calls at this time. What would you like to do? It's Lydia in Clare, Michigan. She says she's a biochemist.
Sure, put her on.
Okay, we're going to make an exception. Lydia, welcome. You're on with Rich Scheben.
Hi, I'm not actually the biochemist, but I've come from a family. My mother is a biochemist, and her older sister was her boss. Both of them worked at Bay Medical Center in the lab. And I know from years of listening to them talk what a virus is. First of all, a virus isn't even a living thing. It's a blood pathogen. It's an infected cell in the blood. So basically, unless your blood is airborne, a virus is not going to be. They're lying to us, full outright lying to us. And the solution to this is we've been going about it all wrong. And as I've been listening to Bradley talk, he's been talking about how...
Wait. You've been listening to Bradley talk?
Bradley Dean, oh yes, I've been listening to his shows.
Okay, I thought you were talking about Rich Scheben. You're not talking about Rich Scheben. Do you have the right broadcast? What broadcast were you calling into?
Bradley Dean usually... this is the number of his talk show that I wrote down.
I want to thank you for calling, but we are not talking about that, and I'm not Bradley Dean, and nor is Rich Scheben. So I want to thank you for your call.
I got the wrong day, don't I?
Well, you've got the wrong number probably as well. But anyway, I'm going to put you on hold, and you can talk with our engineer. But thank you for calling. Okay, Rich, back to you.
Yeah, and could that be an accident? It could be. Could it not be? You never know these days. See, this is what's going on. So let me go on to more articles here.
Okay,
we're running into seconds. And CIA Democrat House rep takes lead over GOP challenger after 14,600 votes found on memory stick. People, we are giving so much evidence. It's overwhelming. Next article. This is about voting irregularity challenges. Democrats call for people to move to Georgia to stack the vote. You ever notice all these irregularities, all the glitches, all the adjectives, verbs, and nouns that they use? Every one of these are done by the Democrat Party on the left. Every one. Is it a coincidence? No. At this point, there aren't any coincidences. Next article. Bill Gates hired Black Lives Matter students to count ballots in battleground states. Can't make this stuff up. Giuliani says 100,000 ballots for Biden were brought in to catch up with Trump. In Michigan, GOP state senators are requesting a full audit of the 2020 election. I got news for you, America. We should have an audit in all 50 states, and President Trump will easily win over 400 electoral votes. Next article. IT expert test Dominion software allows easy manipulation of vote tallies, unquote. Remember the article I talked about last week about this woman in 2 minutes broke into the database, into the computer? Very easy to do. Next article. Maricopa chairwoman resigns after she skips doing the Dominion test. See, you can be blackmailed, you can be bribed, you can be threatened. Next article. Michigan witness says many fake ballots in Detroit, 0 Trump ballots even among the military. Now, there's a official in Arizona, she said this last week regarding the vote count. She tweeted that Trump's got a neo-Nazi base. Well, it's the other way around, folks, and we've talked about this many, many times. When you talk about authoritarian, communist, tyrannical dictatorships, totalitarian fascism, we have to break it down to specifics. Why does the left not want citizen journalists? Because they want to control the media. Okay, it's an addiction to power, money, control. Why do they not want due process? Because they don't want real facts to come out in court. They want the outcome to be controlled. Why do they want government schools controlling curriculum where parents have no say, where they're anti-homeschool? That's Nazi left stuff. That's exactly what the USSR and Hitler did, Mao did. This is their playbook. How come private property invasion by police? Who does that? Is that a free, liberty-minded country? No. That's what the left has done. That's what communist dictators have done. How about the courts? How come our lawyers and judges have sold out the American people? They're bought and paid for in the name of justice. That's what the left does. Voter fraud and election fraud. That's what the left does. Are we citizens who expect the government to work for us, or the other way around? We need to start standing up. We need to start following the rule of law. We need to start following the Constitution. We all need to read and research. Thank you all for listening, folks. I appreciate it.
Rich, very, very well done. I'm looking forward to seeing you 2 days on Thursday. Class Rich will be back with us talking more about the stolen election.